Hi crafters, it's Hannah here from Handcrafted Cards. In today's back to basic video we are looking at inks. I'm going to be showing you the different types of inks and the uses for the different types of inks. We're going to talk about re-inking an ink pad and also just a little tip on making storing your ink pads. I'm going to say storing. You'll know the tip when you get to it. So let's get started. So today we are talking inks. There's quite a few different types of ink. Oh, that's my phone. So I thought it'd be useful to just explain what the different inks are, and then we can talk about re-inking and just a little tip that you've probably seen before about labelling up your ink pads. So these are all the inks we're going to be talking about today. We've got Archival ink, Versamark, Memento, the craft stamping pad, your classic stamping up pads, and the Ombre ink pad as well. So I'm going to move these to the side and we will start with the classic stamping pad. Let's zoom in a little bit. So this is how it will come when you order it from Stampin' Up. It has a clear plastic over it, and you just need to peel that up. The ink in here is a dye-based ink, which means it will run if you stamp an image and then wet it, it will run, but it is perfect for stamping and different watercolour techniques because, as I says, it will move with water. So to open the ink pad, there's 3 little dots at the bottom. You just give it a push and then flip it over, and that is your ink pad. It's stored, so the ink pad itself is designed so the pad is upside down, if that makes sense. So when you close it, you pull it back and then it will be stored. The ink pad is here, so it's upside down, so that way when you come to stamp there's always plenty of ink. It's nice and juicy when you come to stamp. So my little tip for labelling, just grab my scissors. On the bottom you do get the labels for your ink pad. You just need to peel it up, and there's 4 languages on there. I think it's English, obviously, French, German, I think that might be French. You know what, I'm not sure, I can't speak them, so you just pick whichever language you need and stick it on the edge of your ink pad, so when they're all stacked up you can see your colour. What I also do though is peel up another label, whichever one has the shortest words, and you'll see why I say that in a second. So that's this one. So I'm just going to cut off the edge bits where there's no words. Oops. So you've got those 2 bits there. Flip open my ink pad, and what I do is in this little groove there I stick these strips so that when I've got the ink pads open and I'm working on a few, because sometimes when you look at the actual pad you can't always tell the colour when it's lined up next to a few other ink pads that are similar, and so you don't want to be stamping in the wrong colour. So if you have that there, you can see what colour you're working with just in there, and also that side, so whichever way round you have it you can see your colours. So that's my little tip that I found quite useful, and then I'll just peel up the rest of these and this piece, and underneath here it's just got the instructions for opening your ink pad. I store all of my inks in the Stampin' Up colour caddy. I like it because it doesn't take up a lot of space and the ink pads are quite neatly stored. I don't know if I can get it in shot. You can see, just about see it there. It sits on your table. I'll put a picture of it on the blog post that's going to go with this video so you can see it, and it spins around and it's quite neat and tidy, and there's enough room there for all of the main colour families and the Reinkers as well. So we mentioned Reinkers. When you have your ink pad, obviously you're stamping it up, it's going to run out, so you buy the Reinker. For every colour of the Stampin' Up colours there is a Reinker, except for the Ombre ink pads, and I'll come on to that in just a second, but everything else you can re-ink. I'm just going to stamp with this ink pad here just to show you the difference. This is the Blushing Bride ink. I'm just going to ink up an image if I can get anything, and it's stamped but it's very pale. So I'm going to grab my re-ink. I don't know why I shook it. I don't think you need to shake it. And just, can you see, working my way across the ink pad and gently squeezing it. I'm not squeezing it too hard because I don't want big blobs of colour in one area. And then I'm going to go the opposite way. It's almost scribbling the ink, whoops, all over. Like that. And then I'm not squeezing anymore, but I'm just rubbing the tip of the Reinker bottle over just to evenly spread out the ink. I'll try to evenly spread out the ink. And if there's any spots where you think, oh, could do with a bit more there, you can squeeze a little bit more out. Right, there's a little bit of a lighter spot there, and that looks like it should be okay. So we'll clean off this stamp so you can see it fresh to make sure you get a good comparison. Not that there was much left on. We'll ink this up again, and this is really juicy. Now, look at the difference in that. So you can see that was before I re-inked it, and that was after. A little bit of a difference, I think you'll agree. So you can still get a really good image even though the ink is running out. I mean, that is a really pretty tree. It's just a much lighter colour, and then after you've re-inked it, it's a deeper colour. So even if you haven't got your re-inkers straight away, it's not a huge deal. It's almost like you've stamped off. So you can still get a good image, but then obviously eventually it's going to run out completely. So that's why we have the re-inkers. So as I said, I keep those on my colour caddy in the colour family. So I've got the Reinkers by the ink pads, and then I haven't got all of the Reinkers for all of the ink pads. I do recommend, if you buy an ink pad, buy the Reinker at the same time so you've got it ready and you don't run out halfway through a project like I did the other day. I tried to use this and I was like, oh no, this, you can't hardly see this, I need the Reinker. So I had to change up the project, use a different colour. But if I'd have had this, I could have just re-inked it straight away. So a lesson for me, buy your re-inkers straight away. So those are the classic ink pads. So you can just see the label on there. And oh, see, I didn't do it on that one. I didn't do that little trick straight away when I first started getting my ink pads, so some of them haven't got the label on it. You can also, if you see on this one, I've got ink in the well here. You can use this as a what's the word? A palette. So you press, you give this a squeeze, then you'll get some ink in this section here. Then you can pick some up with let me, you know what, I've got the Reinkers pen here. You can pick some up with a blender pen, aqua painter, or even the Reinkers pen, and you can colour with it. And using the Reinkers pen, I don't know if you'll be able to see, you'll get, well, you probably can't see it, but there's some shimmer in it, the colour as well. So that's another little tip. You can use your Reinkers pen as an paintbrush, and then just keep scribbling off until it is clear again. Same with your aqua pen or your blender pens. You just scribble off until the tip is clear. So you can use this as a palette as well. So those are the classic ink pads. That's re-inking it and a little bit on storage. I think we will next go to the archival inks. Archival inks are inks that are permanent. They are, the Stampin' Up comes in, oh my goodness, I can't speak. You can get the black and the grey in the Stampin' Up ink pads. As I said, they're permanent ink, so if you're watercolouring an image, you can stamp it in these, and these lines won't bleed, they won't blend, they won't move. So they're perfect for watercolouring. And then there's also the Stays On ink pads. These are permanent as well, so perfect for watercolouring, but they're also really good on non-porous material, so not just on your card. So for things like window sheets or glass, anything like that, you can stamp on with the Stays On. Comes in the jet black and the cotton white. Do Stampin' Up still do that one? Maybe not, but anyway, yeah, Stays On is a really, it's a good black as well, the same as the archival Stampin' Up ink pad. It's a, I don't know if that makes sense, it's a true black. Yeah, you know, let's give it a quick stamp so you can see what it looks like. It gives a nice, and it smells really good. I'm probably getting high off it, I keep sniffing it so much, but there you go. It's a nice crisp black colour. And then this Stays On. With the Stays On, you want to clean it with the Stays On remover, just because you can clean it with the normal Stampin' Mist and it will come off, but you have to scrub it a lot more. But when you use the Stays On cleaner, it comes off so much easier. Whoops. There you go. As you can see, really nice. They are slightly different blacks from each other, but they're both very crisp black inks. And I'll just show you the Stays On cleaner. It comes in a little bottle like that with a sponge dauber on the top, and you just rub it over your stamp. You don't need to really squeeze it much at all. And you can see it's starting to remove the ink. And then I just rub it on my Stampin' Scrub, which I've got here to the side. And there you go, spotless. So that's the Stays On cleaner, and the Stays On ink, and the archival ink. So as I said, archival Stays On equals permanent, they won't move. So very, very useful. And another black ink is the Memento Tuxedo Black. This one is, let me have a look, whoops, it's not waterproof like the Stays On and the archival, so you can move this around with water, but it's just another black that you can use. Okie dokie, next I think we will look at the craft stamping pad. This is a very rich, permanent, white ink pad. It's a pigment ink, which means it's slower to dry, so it's really good for embossing, similar to the Versamark, which we'll look at next. Let me get a darker colour card so I can stamp it and you'll see it better. Okay, so as I said, it's permanent, and there's a refill for it as well. I'm just inking that up. I think I might need to refill it. Yes, I do. And you know the lesson that I just said, oh, you should have all your reinkers ready for when you're stamping so you don't run out in the middle of a project. I don't have the reinker for this, so that's the lesson learned again, Hannah. Let me just double check, I'm sure I haven't. Nope. No. So I can't really show you this one. Oh well. Blooper reel. Yeah, you can't really see it, but look, you have a nice shadowy effect. And yeah, I meant to do that so I could show you this really fun shadowy effect. Maybe, maybe not. So what I'll do, I'll order me a reinker, and when it comes I'll show you how to reink this one as well. Oh dearie me. You'd think I'd learn, but no. So on my shopping list is a reinker for the white ink. Okay, so let's move on, shall we, to Versamark. If you've been watching my videos or follow my blog, you know I love heat embossing. It is one of my absolute favourite things. I think it is literally magic. So to do heat embossing you need a Versamark ink. It's a watermark ink pad, which means it's clear ink, so you can throw your embossing powder on, and I am going to show you. Let's use on this. Oh, bronze will look nice on this. So you get your Versamark, ink up your tree, and it's quite sticky to touch. It's very, very sticky, which is why it's good for heat embossing. Then you stamp your tree, and it will stay wet for a very long time, so you can do a few images and then throw your embossing powder over the top. And I really should have used my embossing buddy, but not to worry. And you can see the embossing powder has stuck to the image. Let me just tip that away so I don't get in a mess. Okay, and after you've put your embossing powder on, you then get your heat gun and heat set it. And I'll show you. Let's see. And there you go. Then you've got a nicely heat embossed image, and that won't come off now because the ink has dried, the embossing powder has set, and yeah, so that's what we do with Versamark. There are quite a few other different techniques that you can use with Versamark. It is a very versatile ink. So that's Versamark. And last but not least, the Ombre ink pad. I thought I'd just show you this one, even though it's the same ink that you get in your classic stamping pads, but the difference with this one is it's an ombre ink pad, which means in the one ink pad you've got a gradient of colours. This is the Bermuda Bay, so I'm just cleaning off my stamp here. When you ink it up, you want to ink, slightly move your stamp up and down, yeah, like that, and when you stamp you get the gradient of colour. So it's the same ink as the others, but it's just a different ink pad, and these do actually pop out. So if you wanted the whole tree in this shade, then you could just ink up that one, and then you get that shade of tree. Oops. Yeah, so really useful on this one. You obviously can't re-ink because there's the different shades, and the re-inker just comes in the one shade, so they're not re-inkable. But I'm thinking when they do run out, you could re-ink it with whatever you wanted to, really. You wouldn't have this same gradient unless you were really good at working out how much ink to put in each segment. I don't know, I haven't done that, so I'm not recommending it, but I'm guessing that you can do whatever you want with it after the ink's run out. So yeah, you can have a play with it, I guess. I think that's all of the ink. So we have our classic stamps and the ombre ink pads, which are water based ink. We've got your Memento black, your StazOn and Archival black and grey ink, Versamark, and the craft stamping pad, which I need to re-ink. So that's a little quick back to basics look at the different types of ink pads that there are, and just a quick run through on what you do with the different inks. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please share it with your friends, because I love to share with all of you guys, so I'm happy for you to share it with others. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting and subscribing, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.